Tucker?
Hi, Tucker.
Hello. I'm ready if you're ready.
We're ready.
All right. Get the show going. Call the meeting to order. I'll just remind everybody I'm still doing this on a phone for now. So don't be afraid to speak up. I can't see all the pictures at once to know who has their hands raised. Minutes to approve.
Move them.
Is there a second? Any discussion on the minutes? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Those are carried. Appointments for Parks Commission. Jim Young from 4549 Route 34B in Union Springs. Christina Sherman, 107 Melrose Road in Auburn. Susan Rosinko, 111 North Marvine Ave, Auburn, New York. Anyone like to move the appointments?
I'll move them by tally.
Second, Pinckney.
Any discussion on the appointments?
Yeah, I'd just like to point out that the northern part of Cayuga County is getting less and less represented on many of these.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, who are the remaining people on the board? Is Gary on? Does he know?
Tucker, this is Doug. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
We have a vacancy right now in the northern part of the county that was vacated in the fall. And I will reach out to everybody about representation from the northern part of the county. There is one vacancy currently right now.
Okay, that's what I thought, but we're not filling that vacancy. We're going to try and find somebody from the north, right?
Correct.
Okay, sounds good. Any other discussion? All in favor of the appointments?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Appointments are carried. Department updates. Water and Sewer Authority, no updates. I don't think Janina's on.
Tucker, if I might.
Yeah.
Just being appointed to the Water and Sewer Authority Board, I'm trying to get up to speed and know there's the project that we've been looking at, but we haven't really gotten that much information as a legislature on. And I will be working to try to get as much information to the ledge in the next couple of months as we can, so that we can hopefully make a educated decision when it comes time to do that. That's all I have right now. I really got to get up to speed on it.
Okay. Yeah. Any information is appreciated. All right. Anybody else have anything on water and sewer? So now we'll move on to Larry. We have his report. I don't think there's anything to add there. We'll move on to Gary. Gary, are you on?
Yes, I'm on.
All right.
Okay, well, you have my report. I'll mention just a couple other things as far as the Parks and Trails Administration. I've been asked to get involved a little bit with a WIC move to North Street. I'm trying to help with that. And the other thing I wanted to mention is, you guys probably are aware of this, the health department's looking to set up a clinic at the Finger Lakes Mall. I'll be involved in that at some level, just even if it's just getting the space clean. Other than that, you have that part of my report, and I'll ask for any questions for the buildings and grounds part. And Doug's on; he's gonna present next.
Okay. Any questions for Gary? If not, we'll move on to Ed.
Tucker, I just had one quick question.
Go ahead.
Gary, the building in Moravia, are you looking at that for county or town historian potential purposes?
I was looking at it for the county. I wasn't looking at it for the town at all. Legislator Strong was looking into that also and was going to talk to the community down there. To be honest, I don't know exactly where that stands. The woman had approached the county ag museum, as you know, to consider donating that.
Hey, Trish.
Yes.
I looked into this. The building is on the corner of West Cayuga and North Main Street. It's right across the street from Modern Market. The stone building. The lady that lives there is looking to donate it. I talked to Mr. Duckett about it a little bit. I've talked to the mayor. He didn't know anything about it. He does now because I informed him. It's up in the air as far as I know, and it's a nice building, but there's no parking. There's only one little parking spot for one single car. That's it.
Okay.
So,
I just was wondering if there had been any discussion with the historian's office or any.
I personally have not had any discussion with those folks. Like I said, I only spoke with the mayor, Mr. Duckett, and that's it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Tucker,
Yeah, Gary.
Doug was going to say a few words, I believe, too, on the Parks Department portion of the update. That's okay with you?
Okay, yeah. We'll hit Ed, and then we'll move on to Doug. All right, we've got the reports here. Ed, did you have anything to add? Not. We'll move on to Doug.
Thanks, Tucker. The only thing I wanted to highlight in there and do an update on was the construction of the Sterling Nature Center. That package is done through design portion, so we will be submitting that bid package with the help of Don Carr in the purchasing office and some help from Beardsley Design. And we're looking for an opening date. And this is again for the construction of the new Sterling Nature Center facility and the grounds around it on March 2nd. So that'll be published this week.
That's exciting. Is there any language in that project? I know there's some different types of funding attached to it. Is there any language as far as who can bid on it? I mean, can people from out of state? Does it need to be local to the county, the state, the region, or is it wide open?
Well, there isn't any prohibitive language included in it at this time, no.
Okay.
Chairman Tucker,
Yeah.
don't we have a provision now in our bidding law that says that we can do local if it's within a certain percentage?
Yeah, I don't know how that's applied. That'd probably be a question either for legal or Don Carr. I don't know if that just applies to money we're funding. This isn't all of our money, so it may be different. All right. You got anything else to add there, Doug?
I don't, unless there's any other questions. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for Doug? All right, we'll move on. Anything else from the parks and trails or buildings and grounds? All right. If not, we'll move on to highway. Mr. Soperon.
Thanks, Tucker. I guess we can start with, if you guys got any questions on my report.
Yep.
Before we hit the resolutions.
Are there any questions on highways report before we move into the resolutions? If not, we'll jump down to, yep. Go ahead, Paul.
Brian, are we all set on our Bridge New York information that we needed to get filed, and are we all set on that?
Are we talking from the second round, the 2 resolutions, or are we talking about the new round that just got released?
Well, both. We can touch base on both. It'd be great.
Okay, and I'll start with the new funding. The governor released back in the end of January. We're going to be submitting the full gamut of 4 bridges and 5 culverts. And we're in the process of deciphering which ones we feel will be the best candidates so we can see if we can get the funding. And as far as the current Bridge New Yorks, the resolutions are there. And when we get to discuss those, I can bring you up to speed on that.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else before we move on? Not, we'll move on to PW3. Is there a motion?
Did you figure it out?
I'll move PW3.
Second, Kerr.
Any discussion on PW3? Not, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Carried. Move on to PW4. Anyone want to move
it? I'll move it. Pinkley.
I'll second. Any discussion on PW4? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, that's carried. I can barely handle the enthusiasm behind these.
Yeah, really.
PW5. Anybody want to move it?
Move it, Pinckney.
Anybody want a second?
Hey, Tucker.
Yeah.
Tucker, this is Hans. Cayuga Creek replacement, bridge replacement. That's not in the town of Venice, is it?
You tell me, Hans.
Well, it's not in the town of Venice that I know of.
Where is it?
Either Springport or Aurelius.
You want to make an amendment?
It needs to be, yeah. You figure out what town it is.
It's down in your end, Hans. All right. Does anybody know where it is?
Tucker. This is Brian. It's, according to the paperwork, it's in the town of Venice.
Well, okay, it's news to me.
Well, I guess we can we can go ahead and pass it. We can make that amendment at ways if we need to, if we determine it is incorrect, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking right now, and I'll hopefully give you an answer here in about a minute.
We can kill a minute. We don't appear to be in a hurry to go anywhere. So.
It's the town of Fleming. It's definitely a misprint.
All right.
The Little Salmon Creek Bridge is the town of Venice.
Okay, does that sound better, Hans?
Yeah, move to amend.
Second on Hans.
I'll second the move to amend.
Any discussion on the amendment? All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Any opposed to the amendment? Okay. Now back to the resolution as amended. Is there any further discussion? not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried. At least we'll put a bridge in the right place.
Tucker,
Yes.
who seconded that?
Strong.
Did you get that, Lacey?
Yep, thank you.
Okay, PW6, authorization to fill senior clerk, account clerk position in the Cayuga, in the county highway department due to resignation of a former employee.
Move it, Hans.
Is there a second?
Second, Strong.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried. All right. Anything else from you, Mr. Soper?
Actually, yes. On PW3, I just want to point out that that's the one that we talked about last month about how to fund that. And we actually were in a lot better situation because the state gave up Marshall funds, so it got us down to 194,000 instead of the 773,000 that I was asking for a month ago. So I just wanted to point that out.
That's good.
But that's it. Thanks.
All right. All right. We'll jump back up to Parks and Trails. Is there a motion for PW1?
Elaine wants to speak.
I'm
Elaine?
sorry. I just was curious. I'm sorry I missed what Brian said because I was wondering if any of these were a throwback from last month when there was this concern about where money was going to come from. Which one did you say it was referenced, Brian?
That was from PW3.
Oh, PW3. The other two have fund balance draws from them, but that wasn't the one we talked about before, correct?
Correct. It was PW3 is the one that we were going to take from the highway road maintenance repair and bridge reserve.
Okay.
And we got it down to 194,000 out of the 773.
Okay. And the last two, they are just, there's a mix of funds, including fund balance draw.
Correct.
Okay.
Those are Bridge New York projects.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Back up to PW1. This is a resolution to modify the current license agreement with A&M Catering for management of the Emerson Park Pavilion due to the public health restrictions on gatherings. Is there a motion? I'll move it.
Move it, Pinckney.
Okay. I'll second.
Tally.
I moved it. Pinckney.
Is there any discussion on PW1? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed? That's carried. PW2, authorization to fill 4 part-time museum aide vacancies at the Ward O'Hara Agricultural Museum. Is there a motion?
Move it, Hans.
Is there a second?
Second, Kerr.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Right.
Any opposed? All right, that's carried. Is there any further business for Public Works? If not, I will ask for a
Move to
motion.
adjourn, Vitale.
Was that a motion from Ben?
Yes, it is.
All right, is there a second?
Second, Kerr.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, thank you. I wish the next committee good luck.
Morning. Tucker, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you, Paul.
Okay, planning will start in 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. When everybody's ready.
I'm sorry, Paul. This is Keith. I couldn't understand that. We're going to start in 10 minutes, or I didn't hear. Okay.
If everybody's here, we can start now. My server keeps kicking on and off. I want to make sure you can hear me.
Yeah, and might I ask Lacey? I'm getting, and I assume everyone is getting a lot of feedback. I have no idea where it's come from. It looks like everyone's muted. Last time it was something in chambers. So if before we start, if you could find out if we can fix that, maybe we can't. I mean, it's not terrible, I don't think, but it's difficult to hear.
Correct.
And I want to hear everything Paul says.
Keith, we'll work on that.
Keith, I'm
What?
not hearing too much feedback here, but what I am hearing is like open mic feedback and background noise from the other people. I'm not really hearing too much.
Yeah, but it looks like everyone's muted. That's what I can't figure out. I agree with you. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Another one of those things we got to work on for these meetings to streamline a little bit, because it makes it tough, because some people are harder to hear. You know, Paul's a little muffled the way he's coming through, so it's harder with the background noise.
Yeah, at first a couple people had theirs unmuted, so we ended up keeping those. And then as the meeting went on, did it seem to get better towards the end of the meeting or no?
Yeah, I think a little bit.
Okay, so yeah.
I had quite a bit of feedback earlier when people were talking and voting that I couldn't hear or get through to you guys.
Yeah, I mean, one thing's a guarantee is Keith comes through loud and clear all the time.
Thank God you're very interested in what I have to say.
Okay, if everybody's here planning, we'll start as soon as we've got everybody signed on.
Do you want me to do a roll call, Paul?
Please.
Are you gonna open now, or are we waiting?
We'll give it 2 minutes and then we'll do a roll call, please. I'm hearing background stuff right now. I'm hearing anything.
You're getting background now?
Yeah. This sounds like somebody's unmiked, unmuted, and you can hear.
Tim. Okay, I just muted Tim, so maybe that'll cut down if he had background noise.
All right, give that a try.
It was like that on Monday too.
Lacey,
Yes,
I'm unmuted. Okay.
you're unmuted now.
Okay, thank you.
Nobody touch anything. All right.
Paul,
Yes.
maybe go through a check and see who's muted and who's not muted.
Well, you can tell on your computer.
Well, I'm on the phone.
Yeah, so far, Tim, the only two people are you and Paul. So far, that's it. Well, and Chambers.
Did you hear that, Tim?
Paul and I are open.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Lacey, is there any reason not to mute Chambers? Is there anyone in there that needs to speak without, being raising their hand or being acknowledged?
Just Brittany or I. We can give it a try if you'd like.
Yeah, why not try it and
Just
see?
try that just to make sure.
Does it affect the YouTube link? I don't think it will. We'll give it a try.
Well, if you mute yours, does that shut everybody else off?
No, I can't hear any. I can hear a nice quiet background.
And you can hear me, Paul?
Yes.
Okay.
Keith, can you hear us?
I can. Thank you.
Okay, now all that background is gone in Chambers. I don't know if anybody else is hearing anything good or
Well,
bad.
that's where the
Yeah, it
that's
seems
where
good
the
to me,
echo
Paul.
must be.
Great.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order now.
Okay.
Sue, you want to do?
Yep, Andy Dennison. I saw Andy's here. Yep. Chris Petrus, I do not see. Paul Pinkney is yes. Keith Batman,
Yes, I'm here.
Trish Kerr,
Here.
Tim Lattimore,
Here.
and Mike Didio, I do not see.
He was on earlier.
Unless that was, yeah. There's one guest, and that's usually Doug Kierst.
And then the number in the email this afternoon, it had planning and another one at the same time. So I don't know if Mike got mixed up on that or not, but anyways. So let's move on. We'll call the meeting to order and minutes to approve, January 13th.
Batman, I move him.
Second,
Kerr.
second Kurt. Any discussion? All in favor? All in favor to approve the minutes?
Aye.
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 Any
Okay.
opposed?
Any opposed? Okay. Right now, let's slide right into a presentation by Dave Votar, the Executive Director of Central New York Region and Planning Board.
Good evening.
Dave,
Can everyone hear me?
yes, sir.
Yes, we can.
Wonderful. Well, good evening, everyone. This is certainly better than driving over from Syracuse in a snowy evening, so I appreciate the opportunity to present to the committee via video conference. I had reached out to Mr. Pinkney and Steve Lynch several weeks ago regarding a project that we're working on here at the Regional Planning Board, and thought it would be helpful to brief you on this project because it clearly involves all 5 counties here in Central New York and certainly Cayuga County. I believe in your packet you have a memorandum, scope of work that I provided that I'll be referring to during my presentation. But before we get into the scope of work, let me just give you a little bit of background. So, as you know, Regional Planning Board, Central New York Regional Planning Board, serving a 5-county area here in Central New York. And as part of our work each year, we periodically get involved in some special purpose studies research projects, things of that nature. And just like you, we have certainly been following the discussion here in Central New York and really across upstate New York and across the country about the issue of broadband service, which I think everybody has been talking about off and on before COVID. And then when COVID hit, and obviously everybody trying to work from home and work remotely like we're doing right now, the availability of broadband service has become really a very important public policy issue that's being addressed, or at least looked at the local, state, and federal level, particularly when we talk about broadband service in rural areas of our region here in Central New York. Our urban areas in Central New York, urban area, Onondaga County, in and around Auburn, in and around Cortland, and Oswego and Fulton, there is broadband internet service. There can be issues in terms of cost, but the availability of service is typically in place in our region. It's when you get into the more rural parts of Central New York and upstate where the private sector, the telecommunication providers have been unable or unwilling for business reasons to expand the network of broadband resources. The state has tried to address those gaps and committed and spent upwards of $500 million to improve broadband service, particularly in upstate New York. I think they've made a tremendous amount of progress, but there are still gaps in our region. Some of the rural communities are served as part of the state program, are actually being served by Hughes Network, which is, satellite internet service, which is really, it's expensive. It's not a satisfactory solution. So we've been looking at this issue for a number of years. We had done a study way back in 2003, 2004, just to inventory the major fiber resources in our region. And through that study, we have been following this issue in the industry off and on over the years. And then this year when COVID hit, we certainly started looking at it more seriously. And we were fortunate to get a federal grant from the Federal Economic Development Administration. This was money supplemental, EDA CARES Act funding is what it's called. So Congress, was one of the various, I think it was the second or third CARES Act legislation they passed. They provided a large chunk of money to the Federal Economic Development Administration, and a very small chunk of that money made it down to regional planning boards across the country, including the Central New York Regional Planning Board. And so it was like found money for us, but we, like any planning agency in any county, there are always a host of projects on the back burner that we can just never get to because we don't have the money to address them. When we got this money, it really came to my mind, one of the things we could do to put this money to good use was to do a study that looked at our broadband resources in great detail here in the region. So the Regional Planning Board, which Paul chairs the Regional Planning Board, I made a presentation and they agreed to allocate funds to hire a consultant, a technical consultant, that could prepare a broadband study for our region, really for each county in the region, with the exception of Madison County, which was excluded because Madison County had a similar study done last year, so they didn't need it again. So what we did is we issued an RFP in September of this year, or last year now, September of 2020. We received, I think, 6 qualified proposals and ended up choosing a firm, ECC Technologies, which is based in Rochester, New York, to do the broadband study for our region. We've had prior work with ECC. They had done our study way back in 2003. They do broadband work both from an engineering design and a planning standpoint all across upstate New York, and they're also down in the Carolinas. They submitted a very competitive proposal. The scope of work that you have in front of you on your screen right now is the scope of work that ECC Technologies will be engaged in. It really breaks out into 2 or 3 components. The first component is to do a physical inventory of the broadband resources in each county, which is primarily coaxial cable from the various cable companies, Spectrum or whoever else is operating in a particular county. So they look at online resources that are available at the federal level and at the state level. But that only paints a partial picture. What they actually do is get people in the field in a car, and they drive all of the roads in each county outside of the urban areas and physically observe, because most of the fiber and coaxial cable is hung on the power lines. And if you know what you're looking for, you can do this physical inventory. So they have 2 people in the car, and they drive every road. And they record that information, and then they put it into a GIS mapping product. So that is basically part 1 of their scope of work. They inventory the physical resource in each county. They reach out to each county to gather other information. If the county happens to have its own fiber, maybe to the 911 emergency towers, things of that nature, that gets added to the physical inventory. And they also match that up with the commercial databases, the FCC database, the state database, and develop a fairly complete picture of where you have internet service, broadband service, and where you have missing zones in your county. The second part of the study is actually a community survey. So they take the physical information, but they want to have a sense of market demand in each county. So you may have someone in a rural area that either has broadband service out on the road, or maybe they do not, but they may want broadband service and they're not currently getting it for one reason or another. So this community survey is a way to assess the interest in the marketplace. Who doesn't have service right now would be interested in getting service. So they gather all of that information, and that is also mapped for each county. So when you look at the physical inventory, you have a pretty good idea where you have gaps, zones without service. And then if you look at the community survey map, you have a very good idea of where there is interest. Customers is one way to look at it. So they combine those 2 databases and come up with both a capital plan, what it would cost to build out the broadband network, a physical network along the roadways. And they match that up with, they put together a business plan that identifies how many additional customers in your particular county would be likely to subscribe for broadband service if it was available to them in these rural areas. So you have a physical capital improvement plan, fairly high level, along with market information, which generates a business plan. You take those 2 bodies of work, and what ECC then does is reach out to the private sector to see if there are any telecommunication broadband companies that would be interested in partnering with, in this case, Cayuga County, to fill the gaps, the physical gaps in broadband service. The other effort is this complete study then puts the county in a very good position to apply for federal grants, particularly through the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Reconnect program. You need a study like this in order to have a competitive application, not only to this program, but I think other federal programs that exist now, and my guess is new ones that'll be funded in this fiscal year or the next fiscal year. So that's a quick summary. The market assessment, what ECC tells us, in order for that market survey to be successful, you really need the engagement of each county. So the market survey is done through two ways. There will be a website where someone can get on the website and complete the survey. But obviously, if you're living somewhere without broadband service, that might be a problem. So we also need to physically distribute the survey, and we need the county's help in rolling out an outreach program to get people to take the survey. The more complete information, the more people we have that participate in the survey, the more potential new customers that are identified, the more competitive your application will be to the federal government, particularly to USDA. So I have talked with Paul and certainly Steve Lynch. Each county, if you think of advertising, marketing, community outreach, each county is unique. And I think the best way to put together a good plan for Cayuga County is to enlist your support and your guidance in this effort. And once we're ready to roll out the campaign, to ask for your help in just publicizing it and promoting it in your respective communities. So Paul, how about if I step there and take questions?
That'd be great. Anybody? What? Keith, go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Paul. Yeah, thank you, David. I've communicated asked several questions of David, and I'm very enthusiastic about this program, this process. The one question I do have, based upon your proposal, is that this information is going to be combined into a potential business plan for providers. I have a couple questions with that. Will the information be protected, be proprietary, so that it's not just available for anyone to look at and come in? And secondly, which is related to the first thing, will the expectation be that someone who assuming we get a grant and bid, will the expectation be that the provider of service provides for the service for all of our gaps, or will they be allowed to cherry pick the gaps, leaving some people without service with fundamentally no hope of ever getting it? So has that been thought through or thought about how that will be approached?
It certainly has been thought about. Let me use Madison County as the example. So I introduced, the issue of broadband was certainly on the radar screen in Madison County in 2018. They have a board of supervisors, and one of their supervisors from the Hamilton area, it's Evan Schwartz. She happens to run a fairly large beef dairy or beef cattle farm. She was very frustrated with the lack of broadband service in her area. So she pushed hard to get the board of supervisors to do something about that. So we introduced Madison County to ECC, and ECC went ahead and did exactly the same study that we're proposing to do in the balance of our region, and certainly for Cayuga County. Once they gathered all that information, they could clearly see where the gaps were. And what they did is they presented some alternative approaches for the county to consider. One approach would be for the county to own and operate a broadband network in Madison County. Another approach was for Madison County to own the network, but to contract with a third-party provider to maintain and operate the network. the value of one of those two approaches, and Madison County went with the second approach. If they're successful in getting the money, and we just digress for a second, the total project cost in Madison County to do the physical build out, which is, I would say, in the southern half of Madison County, is $17 million. So obviously that's a big number. Their grant application to USDA is for $12 million of the 17. And much to my surprise, the county did agree by resolution to bond for the other $5 million if they're successful with their USDA application. So they chose the second approach, which is they would own this new network that's built out, but a third party qualified provider would own or would maintain and operate it. The advantage of having the county in a position of ownership is that, Keith, then you can decide who gets served if you want to serve everyone along a particular route. You get to decide how it's built out, where it's built, and who gets served. Now, the customer, the resident, still has to subscribe, still has to sign up and subscribe to the service and pay a monthly fee like we all pay for our broadband service. But it does give the county the control to direct where the service is provided and who can access that service.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
I think Tricia was next.
Thank you. Hi, Dave. I don't know if you remember working with me back in the day, but it's great to hear from you. And this is exciting work. I'm really glad to see it moving forward. I just had a couple of questions in terms of, will the community survey take into consideration factors like affordability in terms of why somebody might not be accessing the system, accessing broadband? Will that be part of the survey?
Yes, it's they asked that question several different ways in the survey. That's clearly an issue when we're trying, from a public policy standpoint. People, they may not realize they have service out on the road, or they may know it, but they're simply not able or not willing to pay the going rate. So that is a question in the survey.
Okay, good. And in terms of your time frame for completing the study, I wasn't sure. I didn't see anything specific. Maybe I missed it. But what is the time frame for all of this?
Yeah, so again, we engaged ECC. We signed the contract in mid-December of 2020. They had already started the field work for the region. So they've completed all of the field inventory for Onondaga and Oswego counties. That's complete. And they're finishing up the GIS mapping of that information literally this week. And they are starting the field inventory for Cayuga in Cortland County next week. It takes them about a week, driving the roads, going back, checking information. They do a quality check once the field work is done. They then do an in-house check of the information, literally pulling up Google Map, looking at a roadway with the telephone poles, checking to see the wires that are hanging from the poles. So they double check the work. That takes a little bit of time. But the physical inventory of Cayuga County, should be done by the end of February. What we want to do is launch the community survey basically simultaneously across the region on April 1st. And the survey is stood up for 3 months to be sure that everybody has an opportunity to respond. So what we need to do between now and April 1st is put together a marketing plan for Cayuga County and get the resources lined up to deploy that plan, which has to include your participation as county legislators to help promote it. It's going to be much more effective than, a word coming from my office, from Syracuse. That's not going to resonate with your residents. So however you reach out to your community, however you reach out to your residents, your citizens, your voters, that's where I'm looking for, your help, your guidance, and your suggestions. We'll have all the staff resources in place to back this up. We'll do the running around if flyers have to be dropped off or picked up. We have money to fund. If you think some advertising would help in your county to draw attention to the campaign, we have money for that as well. And I'm really holding back. We have examples from ECC Technologies. They're doing this right now. If you want to look at an example of a campaign that's happening right now, is Lewis County. And I believe they're starting with Jefferson County shortly. So you can jump on the Lewis County's website, their homepage, and find your way to a link for the survey. What I'm hoping each county will do is on your homepage, I've been on, obviously, Cayuga County's website, a tile, some reference to the broadband survey where somebody could click into it. That'll take them to the website to complete the survey. But we need that kind of campaign, and you guys are much better at it than I am sitting here in Syracuse.
Thank you.
Okay, Elaine Daly's next.
Well, I thanks, Paul. I wanted to just clarify if my thinking is correct. In a project like this, if you identify an area that is underserved and you want to do outreach to expand broadband there, is it the case that if there is not enough willing people to participate, that the cost for the rest would be so cost prohibitive? I recall talking about this when we were looking at, the new visions and some other things, and then trying to outreach to other customers. It has to do with the base. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. I mean, it's basic economics for the telecommunication companies. So if they have to build the network out on their nickel, then, they need a return. We all understand the basic economics. So they need to know there are so many customers. What we're trying to do is, once the study is complete, to use the study to compete for a federal grant that would underwrite the cost of building out the broadband network, so that these market issues, return on investment, are no longer a consideration for the broadband companies. So let's say it's Spectrum, and we want them, in the southern part of Cayuga County, west of Moravia, to extend a line, 2,000 feet. And maybe there's only 4 customers there. They would say, well, we can't get a return. An arrangement could be where the county either contracts with Spectrum or some other provider and uses the grant money to pay the cost of putting that line in place. So it's clearly using public money.
Is a subsidy almost, correct? Like as a subsidy?
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
Then long term, you get the pipe in the ground, and then as the customer, then you have an ongoing cost for the individual that you hope is affordable.
Right. You set your rates. Just if the county owns it, then you have, the one example I provided, if you have a contract with the third party provider, you negotiate that rate with the third party provider. You control that. So yes, the customer, the resident, is still faced with paying a fee. But what we're hoping is by bringing in federal, primarily federal grant money, maybe some state resources, the cost of building out the system, the carrying cost of building out the system will be minimal. So the cost of being a customer maybe can be affordable in rural areas of the county. That's the goal.
Yep. All right, thank you.
Anyone else for
Mr.
Dave?
Chairman,
Tim Latimer?
Mr. Chairman, Dave, it's good presentation. For economic development reasons, if we build a digital highway to where we think that maybe the best opportunity for development to happen, let's say that Cornell, through this pandemic, is real estate's getting more expensive in New York City, and we've learned that people can work from upstate or anywhere if they have the highway.
If I could, Paul, while we're
hook
waiting for
into.
Tim.
Tim, you can't. Are you muted? Dave can't hear you.
Can't hear a word.
Tim. Tim.
Hello?
Tim, we can't hear you.
Hello?
You were muted earlier, Tim.
Tim, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay. Dave, can you hear Tim?
No, I cannot.
Okay, Dave cannot hear.
Am I unmuted?
Speak up louder, Tim.
Am I unmuted now? Hello?
Yes, but speak up louder.
Dave? Hello?
You can't hear
Hello?
you.
I think we can hear you, Tim, but maybe Dave can't.
I cannot. Can somebody repeat his question and I can try to handle it?
Tim, go ahead and ask the question and we'll repeat it to Dave.
In regards to the pandemic and the digital highway, if we think that we can have economic development in a certain area, like let's say Cornell wants to do some economic or have an industrial park in Cayuga County where the land is cheaper and everything. Can we have the digital highway built out there so that we might be able to get more economic development?
So Dave?
Yes.
So Tim's question, if I've got it right, is an example if Cornell wanted to build some kind of economic development in Cayuga County, would we be able to serve that purpose on a connect that doesn't serve it now?
Absolutely. Again, the basic model that certainly ECC is advocating, but I've seen this over in the southern tier, over in Ontario County, is to put the county in a position to have control, possibly ownership, but if not ownership, some contractual control to decide who can access the network that's built out. So if Cornell comes into Cayuga County and is establishing some business park or education center, and you want them to have access to the network, then yes, they would be provided that access. Absolutely.
All right, Tim, can you hear any of that?
Yeah, I heard. I can hear Dave. I can hear everybody.
Okay.
They just can't hear me, right?
Okay. Dave can. Everybody else can. Everybody else can hear you. Dave can't.
Yeah, I can't. No word. I hear everybody else fine.
Okay,
Well,
Trish.
that's the way it's been on the 6th floor.
Trish is next.
Just a quick question about the funding applications. Dave, is the Regional Planning Board looking to put in an application on behalf of the member counties, or are you anticipating each county applying directly?
And that's a little uncertain right now. We think, and I'm relying on ECC technology. They did another application for Yates County that I believe was funded. And now they have the application for pending. Their belief is USDA would prefer to see an application from the county, the party who is going to own the system, as opposed to the regional planning board applying on behalf of all 4 counties here, or however many want to pursue it. One of the things we've done with this federal grant I referenced early on is I've reserved some of those grant funds so that once the study is done, if Cayuga County wants to pursue the USDA grant, and it will require you to make a commitment for a financial match. Right now it's 25%. It'll probably be reduced by Congress. I'm hearing 10%. You don't have to put money up front, but a financial commitment. If you're prepared to do that, I have money in reserve to pay ECC Technologies to prepare the application on your behalf. And we've all done applications, right, Trish?
Right, right. No, that's great. I'm sure it's pretty technical.
When I discussed this with Steve Lynch, I could see his eyes getting bigger, and I've discussed this with each county. They are very difficult applications. They're quite complex. You got to know the telecommunications world. So I have money in reserve to pay ECC to cover 100% of their costs to prepare the application on your behalf, if you're able to commit to the financial match. That would be my one caveat. So you had asked about timing. So the survey, I didn't finish. I think I finished answering your question, Trish. The survey work should be done by the end of June, and then it's July, August for them to prepare a report. There will be a report for each county, and ECC will come and meet with you for a half a day and walk you through all of the information. And at that point, you would be in a position to, start thinking about what you want to do. You may be challenged to move quickly because what we're all hearing, what I'm hearing, what ECC is hearing is, Congress is talking a lot about infrastructure right now, and you always hear broadband as part of that infrastructure discussion. And because of COVID, what I said initially and what we're all experiencing, I think there's going to be a lot of money available for broadband. And counties that have a plan done and that are ready to move quickly, will be in a great competitive position. I think a lot of the congressional offices are going to be pushing this. And so the timing couldn't be better as long as we stay on track with the schedule I just outlined.
Great. Thank you. It's exciting.
Anyone else? Anybody else for Dave? Guess not. Dave, thank you so much for a great presentation.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Look forward to working with Cayuga County on this initiative. Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening.
You too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Back to the agenda. Thank you for your patience with the presentation. I think it's well worth it if we get on board with this. Okay, appointments for Cayuga County Planning Board. Members will serve until new nominations submitted by the municipality are the following 6 people. Terms ending 2/24/21. Can I get a motion?
I'll move it into the bundle.
I'll second Batman.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. I'd like to mix it up just a little bit other than the lineup you've got, but so I'm going to jump around just a hair. I'd like to start off with the departments. Dan Welsh, are you on? Hello, Dan. Okay. Dan is not available at this point in time.
No, he's there. We can see him. We can't hear him.
Okay, maybe he's muted here. He may be muted. Mhm. Let's see. There he is. Oh man. Yeah. Oh, that's video.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that. I have a new headset and it has its own mute, separate, separate from the one on the 8x8.
We'll start with you, Dan.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Good evening. Just wanted to highlight a couple of things from my report real quickly. We are working on initial planning for the county fair. Remember the Big Six and 4-H fair. A lot of that, in terms of what the final scope and scale is going to be dependent on any of the social distancing guidance from the state or the county. Any rules that state 4-H might have for us in terms of gathering, and then insurance coverage. Doug Del Strito is hearing from some of the groups he's involved with around events that a lot of the insurance companies won't be covering large events this summer due to COVID. So I'll keep you posted on that. One additional thing is our, like many programs and other nonprofits, our state funding that comes directly to the county extension associations was cut by 20%. And the governor also has us in for a cut this year. Or for 21-22 in terms of the lump sum. And I don't know the impact precisely yet for us because of the way that formula works, but I know folks in Extension Administration and Cornell Government Relations are working with the legislature to try to restore some of that. And I'll take any questions if anybody has any.
Dan, I have a question.
Go ahead, Tim.
And in regards to the funding mechanism, isn't it true that whatever dollars we put up as a county, the state matches, or somebody matches it like 6 times over? Or what's the multiplier?
Right. The state, up to $100,000 of funding, the state matches each dollar with 25 cents. Above that, they match every dollar with 5 cents. But they actually have not been fully funding that for some time, that additional piece, in terms of the match. Because there is, even though it's a formula, there's also a top line that they appropriate every year.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else for Dan? Okay, Dan, I guess that's it. Good luck
Okay.
with the state. We're hoping. things
Yeah,
will look good.
we all are. Keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, thank you. All right, Karen Cole of Tourism, is she on?
I am indeed. Can you hear me?
Sure can.
Excellent. The report is included. I would like to highlight the winter photo shoots that we're doing. A video has demonstrated to be a huge engagement with our visitors. So we're working on doing a series of winter photo shoots, one of which was aired yesterday. It was a beautiful shot of a young family approaching the Harriet Tubman statue and then walking out to Emerson Park. It's gotten wonderful engagement, and we plan on continuing these to get people interested in the winter activities in the area. It's always been historically an issue to try to get interest in getting people to visit in the shoulder seasons, including the months right now that are lowest occupancy. So we're working on that. And those are working out really good. The Brave Women is a winter campaign we're also doing in conjunction with Seneca and Ontario counties. We did a 100K where we enticed people to get out and about safely in the wonderful trails and parks that we have in the area. And they involved a swag bag, including a neck gaiter, which doubles as a mask as you're out in the county. And those have done great. We've gotten now 300 participants, and they're actually nationwide. So we've gotten a lot of interest from around the US and this, where they're hiking in their own areas, but we're sending out messaging about all the opportunities in Cayuga County and our neighboring counties. That got us really nice exposure regionally with Good Day Rochester, Ithaca radio station, and in Syracuse local. We have applied once again for the second round of the PPP loan to help diversify our funding and be able to do more programming while still keeping our office fully staffed. We're waiting for final approval from the SBA for that loan, but everything seems to be progressing nicely. Our annual report that we do on a regular basis is available. Distribution would be a lot more difficult. I would be in the chambers with you at the moment, distributing it to all of you, but that is not possible. So please give us a ring and we can have some available at our offices at the Equal Rights Heritage Center for pickup. And those should be available next week. So give us a ring and let us know when you can drop by and pick one up.
Any questions for Karen?
Chairman.
I thought you were coming in. Go ahead, Tim.
I don't know whether she can hear me, but
I can hear you, Tim.
How much did you get? The first round of funding from the PPP, how much funding did you get? And second question is the bed tax that's received from different hotels in it. How is that? Is that coming in at, or is it down?
The first question, the PPP, I don't remember exactly. I wouldn't say it was 49,000. This one was a little bit lower, but it's still going to be a great assistance. It came out at 38,000. The occupancy tax, yes, it was 2020 was reduced by about 25% from what we had anticipated to get in 2020. So we did get a big dip, yet it was significantly better than we thought we would suffer from 2020. Cayuga County definitely was in much better shape than our regional counties with the Finger Lakes region and Central New York. Cayuga County did have a lot more visitation. And that really saved us a lot and was able to give us a little more funding to do the programming like the videos that we are doing now in order to continue keeping the messaging of the safe destination that we are.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Trish, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, Karen, thank you for your report. If you could just give us a little sense of how our tourism businesses are feeling about the upcoming year, and where they're at right now. I'm glad to hear that Cayuga County is faring well within the region. But what kind of feedback are you getting right now from the different sectors as we're going into the new tourist season coming up?
It is very mixed, Trish, and it is a very difficult, all of our crystal balls are broken. It is a very difficult way to predict what will come. There are news that comes from both sides. Overall, the trends are optimistic. Different sectors are faring harder. The restaurant industry is getting hit one of the hardest. Some of the lodging partners are getting hit a lot harder than the other ones. Mid to level lodgings are getting hit harder than luxury lodging, but that might change. The reason why that is because a lot of the individuals within the regional metropolitan centers, such as New York City, Boston, Philadelphia, are not traveling internationally, and they're looking for someplace else to go. The Finger Lakes region is an ideal place, and they are gravitating to more of the luxury destinations. The Hilton and the Inns of Aurora fared much better than some of our lower economy lodgings. The restaurant industry is getting hit hard. Breweries and wineries are not faring too badly because they're able to do a lot of curbside pickup. And it seems like all of us stuck at home are probably consuming a lot more alcohol than we did before. So it really hit or miss depending on the different industry. As far as what's coming up, people will still not be traveling internationally. A lot of borders are still closed and are predicted to be closed well into 2021. So I think when people start moving around come spring and summer, we are very hopeful that the Finger Lakes region will continue to be a great destination. We do partner with our regional counties like we did with the We're Brave Women Winter. And we have other partnerships that we're looking into because lifting up the entire area and gaining recognition of the Finger Lakes region as a safe and wonderful vacation destination is going to help all of our partners. So we're optimistic.
Anyone else for Karen?
Can I just ask a follow-up if nobody else has
Sure can.
question? Just in terms of who we align ourselves with in terms of marketing, we're also considered part of the Central New York region for a lot of different things. And the planning is, we heard from today, both our Central New York planning. To what extent do we align ourselves with the Syracuse Central New York marketing message for visitors to our region?
Being part of two different regions has a lot of assets, but it's also makes messaging a little conflicted and difficult. Onondaga is also in the same situation. They are part of the Finger Lakes visitor region for I Love New York and matching funds and all the tourism efforts. But we're also in the Central New York for economic development. We do have some programs that we run with Oswego, and they are not in the Finger Lakes region. Basically, we look for partnerships that we have commonalities and that the messaging to the visitor can be seamless. So since we are located in the Finger Lakes visitor region, I Love New York positions us with that product. And we do have a lot of commonality and good projects to work on together. But we do also work with Central New York, with Madison, Cortland, and Oswego, and some other programs. So it really depends on the theme and what the visitor is looking for.
Thanks, Karen.
Okay, again, anybody else? Questions with Karen? Karen, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Kelly King. Is she?
I'm on. Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Sure can.
Okay, great. So everybody, as you could see from my report, one of the biggest focuses right now for employment and training is really providing outreach and recruitment for all of our programs, especially the youth program right now. In attempts to do that, I've been meeting pretty regularly with Cayuga Onondaga BOCES and Cayuga Community College to talk about program development, training opportunities for adults and for youth, and how we can make the connections there with our job seekers and with our youth. On the flip side, we're looking at recruiting youth to enter into our program. Believe it or not, we're going to be kicking off the summer program before we know it. And we usually get the applications out the first week of March. So we're hoping to still do that within the first couple of weeks in March. I was told today to still focus on a virtual program delivery model. Unlike our counterpart in Cortland, they did a lot more virtual than Cayuga County. We were able to serve more in person just by the nature of the work sites that we had here locally in our county. So we're still hoping to do. I would prefer to do more in person if we can do it safely and distanced and be able to navigate the COVID-19 requirements, and we should be okay. Some exciting things I've been working on with Cayuga Onondaga BOCES is trying to talk about maybe developing some youth programs through them that could potentially the youth can earn a credential, a certificate of completion, and work on some literacy while they're doing that. And the focus would be on the high school dropout population. And those are the youth that we're trying to capture. So we've been working closely with both these over the last couple of weeks to look at developing some programs directly through them and partner with them to make that available to these youth. So we're excited about that. Another group that we just formed, we just met today, actually. I've been talking about the former business services team. I've probably mentioned it in the committee many times. Years ago, we had a local business services team, and I found value in that when I was an employment specialist, where all the different agencies that have key roles in workforce would come together. We would network, we would do it every month, and we could talk about what's going on in each of our worlds, because they're all connected. And then that would really allow for us to provide better opportunities for the people we serve, because we serve the same people with the same goals, getting quality employees, quality people, getting employers access to skilled labor. So it kind of went to the wayside, and today we reunited. I'm not sure what we're called, and our counterpart in Cortland, they call it the Street Beaters. I'm not sure if I like that name. So we don't have a name yet, but we came together today. Tracy was there from CETA, Danielle, Cayuga Onondaga BOCES, the college, Access VR, New York State Department of Labor Business Services, myself, and a member of my team here. So, and also the director of the Workforce Board. So we came together, and we're going to do that monthly. And I think that's going to help us with talking about virtual career fairs, getting services back into the career centers in terms of recruitments. So we're seeing some activity there. I haven't seen this much partnership in a long time, at least on my end. So I'm happy from the way I see it that we're all coming together to create more opportunities for the job seekers and for businesses. Last update, BCS, they did extend their closure to March 19th and March 31st. Some of the workforce did leave BCS and they found other jobs. So at this point, we're looking at 123 displaced workers, 100 non-skilled, 4 skilled, and 19 salaried. I spoke with the human resources person, Molly, just the other day, and she indicated a lot of people are inquiring about training. So I was happy to announce that they were granted the Trade Act petition. So they are eligible for that extra training benefit with a $20,000 cap for retraining. And we facilitate that program locally out of Cayuga County Employment and Training. So they were granted that petition, and I was happy to hear that. So I think that we'll see some of those folks take advantage of retraining opportunities. That was a lot, but I think that sums up what we have going on this month.
Trish.
Yeah, that's great. I'm excited to hear your report, Kelly, including the business services team or street feeders or whatever you are calling it. My question is with the Trade Act funding that allows folks to get up to $20,000 for retraining. I assume they have some flexibility there in terms of the type of program they want to enter for education?
So they would have to follow the regulations in terms of the training program has to be something that's going to be considered in demand. So it would have to be on the regional demand occupation list that you can find on the Department of Labor's website. So it has to be something that they can prove that there's going to be employment in upon completion and that those jobs are plentiful. We can be creative often with Trade Act, requests. But yeah, they do have to be, it has to be something that's, in demand and reasonable expectation that they'll find employment in the field they were trained in.
And could any of that funding be used for an apprenticeship program hybrid with some of our local companies where there's a teaching component at CCC and a hands-on learning component?
I believe so, Trish. I believe that apprenticeship does fall into the criteria of Trade Act. I know for a fact on the job training does because we've done Trade Act on the job training. So I'm very certain that apprenticeship falls in the same. We haven't done it. Emily Cameron today, actually from CCC, had mentioned a little bit about their apprenticeship program, some SUNY funds that they have to do apprenticeship programs through the college and through the advanced manufacturing program. So we're actually meeting Thursday to kind of go over some of those things in apprenticeship. But I'm pretty sure, and I'll, of course, when the Trade Act rolls around, they are very, they have a lot of guidance. There's a lot of guidance, but there's a lot to the Trade Act program. It's a complex program, but I don't see why apprenticeship wouldn't fall into the same category as OJT essentially. So yes.
Okay, great, thanks. That's exciting too.
It is, and the Trade Act isn't even just training funds. They also allow for relocation funds and job search allowances to go and to have an interview potentially out of state. Not that we want people to necessarily relocate for employment, but they do offer other benefits, and they have a wage subsidy for the older worker. So if you have somebody that says, I'm too old, I don't want to go to school, I'm not interested, Trade Act can do, it's called RTAA, Reemployment Trade Adjustment Assistance. What that does is if an older worker, and I want to say it's 55 and up, but something's telling me 50, but I don't feel like that's old enough to be an older worker. But it covers half of the difference of the old wage and the new wage. So for up to a period of time, and I want to say it's 2 years unless it's changed. So there's also that benefit for the worker that says, I don't want to go to school and now I'm taking a job that's significantly less. Well, then there's that wage difference. So there's a lot of benefit to the Trade Act program, which is why I'm thrilled that they were granted it. And the training benefit to the Trade Act program is actually a lifetime benefit. So, I mean, they could come back. We've had people that had a Trade Act petition granted. They filled out the necessary paperwork in the beginning because it's time sensitive. But they'll come back to us 8-10 years later and they want training, and it's approvable because the Trade Act is a lifetime benefit for a one training per petition. So they don't have to use it right away.
Great. Well, good job. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else for Kelly? Kelly,
Chairman.
thank you. What?
Mr.
So you,
Chairman?
Tim?
Yes.
Fire away.
Kelly?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm just having a little trouble hearing you.
Yeah, we just had a presentation by regional planning on the digital highway being extended. And are you working with BOCES to maybe try to fill? I know that there's a lot of different utilities that are being expanded. Do we have enough, linemen and I know there is some money for apprenticeships. plumbing, heating,
Mhm.
those types of things. So we're connected with all those apprenticeship monies that are coming out of the feds.
Yeah, apprenticeship is definitely something that I have not had a whole lot of experience with. Apprenticeship is the hot topic right now. And again, I'm meeting with the college regarding that. Also, the New York State Department of Labor, it's starting to trickle through to the local offices. So that is definitely something on my radar, and initiating my involvement in that, because again, apprenticeship has been something that we have never done here in our center or in our office in the Career Center. So it is on my radar, and we are having conversations about it. So I'm hoping we'll delve into the apprenticeship route full force ahead, but we have not had any experience with apprenticeship in the past.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Kelly, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Doug Kirst, are you on? Doug Kirst. Okay, everybody's had a chance to look his over. Any questions, we can flag him down. It doesn't sound like he's there.
He's muted.
Oh, he's muted? Hold on.
How about now? Is that any
Okay,
better?
you're on.
All right. Well, thanks. Sorry about that. Thanks for having me. Good evening, everybody. I did include the report. Hopefully, y'all had a chance to check it out. I know last month Legislator Petrus did inquire about our tree sale, so that information has been out and about. Feel free to check it all out at the website. It's our 50th annual spring tree seedling and ground cover sale. So the earlier the orders come in, the better, because we do order the stuff earlier, and some stuff tends to run out. So some orders have been trickling in. But we have a pretty diverse report. We've been putting a lot of irons in the fire, scattered in a lot of different directions. So you guys know how to get in touch with us. If you ever have any questions about what we're working on, feel free to reach out, and I'll be glad to take any questions.
Anyone for Doug? Tim, should I start off with you? Tim? Chris Petrus.
I just want to say thanks, Doug. Thanks for the reminder.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for your continued support of the program.
Well put.
Okay, anybody else? Doug, I'm hoping maybe April or May, if things turn around, maybe we get out to see the operation sometime. I don't want to put any dates on it, but we always like getting out there for an annual meeting and get people who haven't seen what you do and a little understanding. Be great to get one out there.
Love to have you. Great idea. We'd be glad to give a presentation.
Sounds good. Okay, if everything's done with Doug, we're going to go to Tracy next.
Hello.
Hello there.
So you did get my report. So one thing I wanted to give you a heads up on is that in the next week or so, you'll be seeing in your inboxes an overview of what we are planning for our strategic priorities for this year. Starting in the very early part of January, I think it was the first week after the new year, we started getting together as a team to work through what our priorities could be for this year and we landed on a few strategic priorities in addition to our typical scope of work. This is not replacing our business visitations or mentoring or any of those things, but we picked 4 kind of priority areas that we think will set a really good foundation for economic development moving forward. And I just wanted to very quickly give you a sneak peek at what those priorities are. But again, I will send you some backup documentation in the next week or so here outlining all of this. But really the 4 areas are, talking following up on what Kelly was saying, the workforce ecosystem, working with partners to ensure that we all understand what all the resources are and what we're all doing, and to really make inroads to creating employment pathways. And CETA's role in this will primarily be engaging with employers and engaging them into the workforce system and making sure that they have clear expectations and clear career profiles so that they can find the right fit of employees, but also generally collaborating with our partners, our workforce training and service providing partners to strengthen that whole system and create more seamless interactions. A second one is supply chain analysis. We are looking at doing a countywide supply chain analysis to help us identify gaps where we can target attraction and business startup, but also where there might be surpluses that can be addressed by local procurement and really focusing on being able to target those business to business connections as well as our attraction strategy to really find businesses to attract that fit in the community. We want to make sure that the businesses we're attracting have a reason to be here and are going to be tied to the community based on these supply chains, because that is a really great way to retain them in the community. Sometimes if you're a little haphazard about it, you can find that, great, you've attracted this company, but in 5 years, they're leaving because they found another location that makes more sense for them. So we really want to use this as a way to target our attraction and our business growth strategies. Another one is our entrepreneurial ecosystem. So this is really intended to support small businesses and entrepreneurs, and it's really about building resources for information, financing, and connections for small business. And over the last year, we've certainly found that not all of our small business community has a strong foundation for resiliency. And these types of programs, whether it's the micro enterprise program that we've been talking about, or we're also looking at creating a resource library by compiling information and generating new content, is really intended to help strengthen that foundation for our local business community, because so much of our economy is based on small local business that we want to put into place a system that these businesses can engage with and grow from. And then finally is focusing on community marketing. So you're seeing this with the Auburn Place brand that we've been talking about, but really more broadly focusing on marketing Cayuga County and Auburn as places, focusing on building relationships with site selectors and brokers, and then pushing them information about the community, and also focusing on talent attraction. We all know that there's an opportunity to attract remote workers right now. People's living situation has gotten more flexible now that so many people are working like this, and many people, that's going to be the case for the long term. So really making a concerted effort to bring remote workers into the community who can then become part of our talent pool and potentially work in local businesses as well over time, or start their own businesses. One of the risk factors that we've always kind of seen is an aging workforce. So this is a great opportunity to attract talent into the community. And we really think that this community branding is going to be a way to address that opportunity, as well as our business attraction work. So those are kind of the 4 areas that you're going to see in those priorities. And we can talk about it more at the next meeting once you've had a chance to review the document. But again, just wanted to give you a heads up.
Great. Questions for Tracy?
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
There you go. Tim, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, go ahead.
Chairman,
Yes, go ahead.
Tracy,
Yes.
there was a presentation by Miss McLeod at the round table,
Yep.
laying out some kind of a economic plan. Have you circulated that to the ledge at all?
So I did include the link to the Wednesday morning roundtable and a brief description of it in my report. You can see the resulting article and also the link to the video itself in the report. That was regarding the place-based brand that CETA is working on with ADA.
Now, the president of our association, his county put together, put together a 29-page outline what to do during the pandemic with economic development. Have you seen that?
I'm sorry, from what source?
From the chairman of our association of counties.
I don't believe I've seen that one, no.
Yeah, would you take a look at that and see? I mean, they laid out a pretty detailed where do we go from here after the pandemic, and that like the supply chain and some other issues, and maybe take a look at that, and we should probably come up with a strategy similar to that in order to market our strengths and weaknesses. But it was a pretty good format to maybe follow.
Was that I'm sorry, was it the Ontario County one that was going around that you're referring to?
Yeah.
Or is it different? Oh yeah, I saw the Ontario County one, and I think you'll notice that this plan that we're making aligns pretty well with that one. There are some minor differences, but I think all in all, it aligns pretty well with that plan that was shared. And then we're also taking into account many different programs that we've been participating in with the International Economic Development Council and the New York State Economic Development Council. So we're trying to take all of those factors into account.
Okay, I just didn't know whether or not you had that format that they came up with. It was pretty good. You know, now is the time to make hay. You know, things have changed, and I think we're in a good position, like you said. You know, relocation with the digital highway that we're going to put in. Regional planning just came out with some funding mechanisms that we can lay down some more fiber so we can get some of that talent that's in the big cities back home. The brain drain hopefully will come back to suburbia.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I actually appreciate that. I apologize, I didn't realize that was the same report, but yeah, I did appreciate reading through that and seeing what they were planning to do, because it did help to confirm some of the strategies that we were thinking about and where we might be able to tweak a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else for Tracy? Okay, thanks, Tracy.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Stephen, you still there?
I am here, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, fire away.
So first, I did make a change in the way I did my committee report just this month. I added a list and said I'd be available for questions. You don't have to answer this now, but let me know with your feedback. If that's an appropriate way to go, I can easily go back to giving a brief update under each one of those 20 or so projects that we're working on. Also, Dave Botar, who did the presentation tonight, has offered to do it for the full legislature, and that would be good to get feedback whether or not this was appropriate, or we should also have him come and sort of repeat at the full legislature. So that would be good to know, and I can relay that to to Dave Botar, and of course, it's at the discretion of the chair if it gets added to the agenda, but just checking up on that.
Yes, Steve, I did allow that to be entered into the agenda. Sheila had that information, I think it was yesterday or Friday.
Yeah.
So we can go ahead and plan that.
Fantastic. I'll let Dave know.
Okay, thank you.
Just a few brief updates. That
Yeah, wait a minute, Mr. Chair, may I? Steve asked a question. If you noticed, the vast majority of the legislature was at this presentation, and so not to contradict what the chair wants to do, it is her choice, but it'll be a redundancy for the majority of people on the legislature. Number one. Number two, what I would suggest, instead of having a presentation now for the ledge, that we wait until there's an action item, which will be when we get the report. That's the point at which the legislature is going to really have to buy in to really doing work. So I don't know. That's just my feeling. I mean, I think it's going to be really redundant since almost all of us were at the meeting and heard the presentation, unless he's going to do something totally different. So that's the thing, and I'm going to offer the feedback right now, so I don't have to do it later. I like what Steve's done in terms of providing the information. We need to read stuff that comes to us, and if we have questions, we need to ask them. And it can get frustrating when you get information and it's clear that some of our members don't read it and they ask questions that we know the answer to, because it was provided in the written documentation. So I like the approach, and I thank you for it, Steve.
Okay, so having said that, and everybody's had a chance to look at what Steve has done, are there any questions pertaining to that? If so, fire away. If not, we'll let Steve continue on.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. An update on a few things.
Teachers would like to speak, Steve, excuse me.
Certainly.
Sorry, appreciate that, Paul, and thank you, Steve. Just wondering, as I inquire about every month, I know that you were, I think, crossing another threshold in terms of getting stuff down on the Brutus meant rewatering of the canal. So just looking for a quick update on that, if you could.
Thank you, Mr. Petrus. That's one of the things I wanted to update everybody. We were looking for the report on the flood impact study around the 22nd of January. They're doing some more exploration. What they have found is a little bit more complex as far as hydrology and the topography and the options. So we're looking more towards the end of this month to try to wrap that up. And Mr. Petrus, I'm happy to involve you in any of those internal conversations as well. Actually, anybody, but I know that you are in particular following that closely. So you're always welcome to give me a call and try to bring you into those meetings. You're welcome. The other thing is we are ready to submit our HHW grant application. Now, this is a reimbursement for last year's work. I reviewed the grant application today that my staff has been working on. It's going to be going in the next week or so. The chair will help us by pressing the certification button when that's ready. But I just want to share with you that we served 1,017 households this year with 3 events. We moved to all phone registration or online registration for the events, which has worked very well. And as usual, I always want to mention the partners: Soil and Water Conservation District, Cornell Cooperative Extension, the Sheriff's Department has helped us out, and other individuals help us out, and the help from Nucor on giving us money to promote that, which is not reimbursable under the grant. So that's always good. I would like to say that I participated today with some other partners, Michelle and our staff, Adam Effler from the Wasco Watershed Management Council, and the supervisor for the town of Owasco in the Cayuga Lake Intermunicipal Organization stakeholder group. That Cayuga Lake Intermunicipal Organization is trying to sort of re-energize themselves. They've got a private consultant coming in doing stakeholder group meetings. And one of the things that I suggested is it's critical to get county level representation, from the legislatures or boards of supervisors of the counties in the watershed of Cayuga Lake to really participate and to send a representative to these meetings and to come back and brief their bodies on what is happening with the Cayuga Lake Intermunicipal Organization. We need that organization to be as robust and functioning as some of the other ones that are out there. And they've been around for a long time and they're trying to re-energize themselves now. I would like to know, I have been the representative for the county sort of on intergovernmental stuff. I am not a voting member on the Sanctuary Advisory Council for the Lake Ontario National Marine Sanctuary effort to get that, approved by the federal government. And they have offered to come and do sort of a briefing for the counties, a presentation by the staff of the National Marine Sanctuary team. And that could be available in March or later. So just think about it and let me know, probably a 15, 20-minute presentation to give you all a sense of what they're doing and what it's all about and the map of where it is and so on. So that's available and out there. And last but not least, just letting you know that I'm working closely with the chair of the legislature, the sheriff, and Legislator Daley on trying to author and put together the final draft of the police reform and reinvention plan mandated by Governor Cuomo's Executive Order 203. And we're looking to get that plan out there, get it out there for public comment this month, with the idea that it would be released to the legislature to review and to act on under the chair's discretion in March. So that's working too. We've got 4 resolutions tonight and 6 appointments. Oh, you already did the appointments. 4 resolutions tonight as well. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I'll move right into the resolutions.
Let's see.
I don't think we did the appointments.
Yeah, we did, didn't we? With the I moved them, and I think Keith seconded them for the appointments for the county planning.
Oh, okay, I had that for the minutes. Okay.
All right,
Mr. Chair, would you like me to proceed?
please.
Thank
Chris,
you.
Excuse me, Chris, did you want something else? Petrus?
Sorry, I'm getting button happy and I'm hitting the wrong buttons. No, Mr. Chair, if you wanted, I could offer, I think it's PL 1 through 4 as a bundle unless someone wanted them separated. I believe they're all, well, I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I will second that.
Okay. Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Anything else for Steve before we sign off?
Can I just ask a question?
Okay, sure. Steve, go ahead. Yep.
Sorry. Just
Yes.
with the, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. With the citizen science stream monitoring program, Steve, I was on a recent presentation with them, and I think maybe you were as well, where they were talking about their HABs monitoring program as well. And they talked about some of the funding for that. I know that Tompkins County does contribute a little bit to that. HABs monitoring, and that they're looking to increase the number of shoreline volunteers around the lake to do visual inspection. I think more will come this year. We'll try to get up to maybe, I think that's at 50% right now that's being inspected. They want to push that to 75% for inspection. And I was just wondering if you could comment a little bit about that program in terms of how Cayuga County is involved in it right now, and have we ever looked at or been approached to help support that program?
Sure, Trish. I could sort of clarify that the county funding that goes to Citizen Science Institute that was just sort of the contract was just approved by resolution with the committee is different than the HABs monitoring. It's a different effort. That what we fund is for stream monitoring and tributary monitoring, taking samples, seeing what's in it, checking out the sediment that's entering the lake and so on. And that's done in coordination with our department. The county does not fund their HABs program, as you know, which is generally run by volunteers. So most of the funding for the HABs program goes to offset their costs for their certified lab analysis of what they're finding. And of course, some subsidy for them to be posting it on their website and so on and so forth. As they reported last week, they've got about 50% of the shoreline covered now, and they're looking to fill in some of the gaps. So I'm not sure if that's really tied to funding as much as identifying the gaps and doing outreach to people that live in certain areas. So it's easy for them to go across the street and look at the lake every day where they are. But something like the Citizen Science Institute is always looking for support for what they're doing, and they're very good at what they do. And I'm glad we're supporting them for the stream monitoring.
I am too. I just thought that was a great presentation, and something maybe even I don't know, something we could share a link or something with the legislature if they wanted to look at it, if it's available. But thank you.
Sure, I'll be glad to do that, by the way.
Okay, anybody else for Steve? Okay, thank you, Steve. Hello? Hello?
I can hear you.
Okay, if there's nothing else to come before the committee, I'll entertain a motion to see you later.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Okay, second?
Second.
Second, Chris. Thank you. Anybody opposed? Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Take care. Have a good evening.
Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.